Hey guys, what's up? It is week 64 here. I want to let you guys know that there should be about 3 days left on the Kickstarter for Slaughterhouse Slumber Party. I always want to call it something else because there's so many movies with that kind of with all those different words in there. But yeah, it's Dustin Mills' movie. If he doesn't hit the goal, it's not going to get made. It's as simple as that. So if you want to see it, donate, spread the word. You'll have about 3 days from this one. I want to start this out with kind of a new segment. It's going to be called Within a Minute. I'm going to let you guys time me. You guys can tell me if I failed or not. I'm going to talk about a movie. It would probably be a streaming movie or something like that within a minute. I'm going to try to get as much out as I possibly can about the movie. And it has to be under a minute. I don't know if I'll succeed, but you guys can keep a running tab on me if I make it every time I do one of these. So, let's start. And you guys, I'll let you know when the timing. It is the 1987 movie by Abel Ferrara, China Girl. Let's go. Okay, China Girl is a modern-day Romeo and Juliet story with Chinese influence and Italian influence. The Chinese are in Chinatown, and the Italians Little Italy. They're very close to each other. They have a lot of turmoil and hatred towards each other and racism. And the opening of the movie actually starts with James Russo and a bunch of old Italians watching this Chinese family put up a restaurant and take down this old Italian restaurant. It's one of the brilliant scenes, and that sets up the whole movie. Of course, we have these two lovers that these two young kids that fall in love. The girl's Chinese and the boy is Italian. Their families don't want this to happen. This starts kind of a gang war. Russo's in it, like I said. David Caruso's in it. He plays a dick. He's been in a Abel Ferrara movie before, King of New York. He plays a big asshole in this one. Real piece of crap. Does that really well. Russo's great in it. It also has James Hong in it and a couple other familiar faces, one of which who appears in like 100 movies. He plays an Italian guy and everything. He's in Parasite. He plays the heavy in that. He's also very good in this. It has some good action scenes, some good fight scenes, very 80s, good 80s, music and everything. And there's one scene that is lit like a horror film when these two gang members get killed. And there's a brilliant, horrifically graphic scene where this guy's hanging from a telephone pole to send a message, and it looks great. But it's a movie where the youth can't get along or anything, the young people, and it's pretty well made. It has some nice drama. It's entertaining. Abel Ferrara's crazy. It has the Nicholas St. John writing, which we have, that kind of, Catholic stuff in here and Catholic symbolism and whatnot. So it's a typical Abel Ferrara. It's pretty good stuff if you like that. I'm done. Did I make it? I don't know, but here's the trailer.
Can't stay in Chinatown, you stay home.
I gotta tell you to stay away from these people, that they're nothing but trouble.
You know the rules. No one moves north of Canal Street, nobody.
Stores up there belong to the Italians.
What's gonna happen now if they find out about us?
Nothing matters but you and me.
You're Chinese.
Doesn't make me any different.
You're making a big mistake, little boy.
Father, I love him, young.
Okay guys, the next one here is from Slasher Video and Alba Films. This is Streets of Vengeance. This is by the same gang that brought you guys Cinco de Mayo, which was kind of a slasher movie that takes place on Cinco de Mayo. I think that is the only one that actually, slasher movie or horror movie that takes place on that holiday. But I remember being pretty positive about Cinco de Mayo. It's been a while. But Streets of Vengeance, this is definitely a throwback, a revenge 80s style movie. And what they do really well in here is they have one of the best soundtracks I've heard in a long time. It's pulsating, it's great. great. The wardrobe's perfect. The lighting's pretty solid for the most part, and that's what I like about the movie. And this one it's trying to be like a throwback. It's kind of being silly and bloody and a little bit over the top here and there. Sometimes it goes a little too over the top for me with some of the characters acting. Some I think are way too over the top than others, but I think that for the most part, a lot of them do very well. This follows the story of a retired adult porn star, and she's trying to change her life and do some things. And she's basically does television. She's on the news where she tries to dispel some myths about the porn industry. And this group of chauvinistic, misogynistic, whatever you want to call them, animals see her and they make her a target. They're killing sex workers and porn actresses because they want to screw them, but they also hate them and they feel rejected. So they're just a bunch of losers. It's obviously trying to tie in with today's political climate and all the things that are going on here. So they're trying to make a message in the movie as well as being kind of like a throwback at the same time. I can kind of appreciate that. That's a lot. That's a big plate though. That's a lot on your plate to do that kind of stuff. Like I said, some of the acting, some of the characters I think are a little bit over the top. I didn't really like them that much. I thought the gore lacked a bit. I thought the special effects were a bit lacking. This movie's made on such a low budget that they do such a good job with wardrobe and soundtrack and stuff like that, and you forget that this is a budget. But when you see the effects, you remember, oh, this is a budget movie. Some of the CGI is pretty crummy. Some of the practical looks all right, but it's a little bit skimpy on it. That's what I would say. But it's not horrible. I liked a lot of the characters. I particularly like seeing the cameos from new and retired porn stars. Ginger Lynn turns in a very good performance, which was impressive. She's a great role in it, and she gives a good performance. The character of Brian, who plays the journalist, who's infatuated with the main girl, actually becomes like a hero type. He has a lot of charisma, and I enjoyed his character. All in all, it's pretty fun. I think most people get a kick out of it. If you like Cinco de Mayo, I think you'll like this one. There's a written review of this one over at the Screaming Toilet page, so if you like what I'm saying, it's all written down much better than how I speak, I guess. Maybe not much better, probably worse, but regardless, check it out if you're interested in seeing a written review. That is Streets of Vengeance. Oh, the Blu-ray is loaded with features. We have a commentary, we have a making of that's like it's decent, lengthy making of, which I enjoyed seeing. They talk a lot about the movies, have interviews with all the cast and the crew, and they talk about their influences. And it was funny hearing the director and the filmmakers, he casually mentions Chick Boxer, and I was like, who casually mentions Chick Boxer? This guy knows his stuff. So yeah, it's made by film fans, and they put a lot of heart into it, and it shows in some areas for sure. That is Streets of Vengeance.
I don't know about you girls, but me, I've had enough. In the last 3 months, 5 women have been brutally murdered. They were each stalked by a sexual predator. 1 in 6 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. We are a statistic. You are a target. You're being hunted for the entertainment of other sickos around the world. They're being led by a psychotic, woman-hating cult leader.
This is what happens to women that use sexual power to destroy men. We are the sword!
And they must be destroyed. Run and hide if you want. The choice is yours, but you will have to choose a side because the streets are mine.
The next one here is Street Mobster. This is one of the by Toei. This is a Toei film released by Arrow. This is the same director who did the Battles Without Honor and Humanity set and the trilogy, the new Battles Without. This guy's done a slew of movies, like I said. I've seen a bunch of them thanks to Arrow Video. They've been putting them out. And this one is Yakuza Tale, but this one's a little bit different. It follows the story of a guy who refuses to join a gang. He's kind of just like a punk, and he has his own gang, and does his own way. He's a super hard-headed guy, and instead of seeing a lot of the yakuza in these movies are always portrayed as like, hey, they have honor and they have all these rules. This guy doesn't follow any rules. Bunta Sugawara is, I believe, the actor. He's in a bunch of them. He's always the best actor in the movies, and one of them for sure. He's got a lot of screen presence, and he's just very intimidating. This is a strange movie because it's one of these movies where the lead is a villain. He's a bad guy. Everybody's bad in it. He rapes his main love interest in the movie, and he goes to a whorehouse after he's released from prison, and a brothel, I'll call it, a little bit more PC, I guess. And he sees her, and she remembers him, and she has this flashback and tries to kill him, but she has this weird infatuation with him, and they start a strange relationship. Definitely sending some weird mixed signals and messages in there in the film. But he basically is used kind of as a pawn in a way to get these two gangs to go against each other, but it doesn't really necessarily work in anybody's favor at all. And the guy's just an animal, but he's entertaining in the movie, and he does a good job. He's an interesting to watch character. What I really enjoyed about the movie is they in the beginning they have this thing with a packed lunch, and it comes around at the end, and it's a really tragic scene. And that end scene in the movie and the way they brought that bringing someone a lunch all in full circle, it actually really adds an element to it that I didn't expect to be in there, an emotional element. There's some fighting, of course, lots of fighting. And the typical kind of gangster stuff in here. It looks and sounds pretty good. I thought it was a pretty solid effort, and I enjoyed it. I don't think I've not enjoyed any of these ones, but this one's a bit different. Like I said, instead of following the Yakuza and all the traditions, we have a guy who's an outsider who refuses to join any of the things, no matter what they put in front of him or ask him to join. They do him so many favors, but he doesn't want to do it. But just a pretty cool movie. It has a commentary with expert on these kind of movies and stuff, and that's pretty decent. Not the best commentary in the world, but not the worst. It's kind of a little skimpy for Arrow releases, but it's not all that expensive either. But it's a pretty cool movie if you guys are interested.
They take their misfortune and then turn it into pure energy. It's a misfortune that becomes channeled and that becomes a fuel that drives them.
The next one here is one of my all-time favorites. It is Combat Shock. This is the limited Severn release here. This is loaded with features, but mostly I just want to talk about the movie. Buddy G, he's an interesting director, interesting filmmaker, and this is a very interesting movie made in '84, and it's not quite like anything you've seen. There's a wonderful documentary on here about it where it talks a lot about, it interviews tons of other filmmakers around that time, Jim Van Bebber, William Lustig, all those guys, tons of them, Richard Stanley, David Gregory from Severn. So I love that documentary. It's not Belly the Beast, sorry, but that's something else entirely. But yeah, this is a very unique movie. Released by Troma originally and advertised as kind of a war kind of revenge movie. That's not this. This movie is a bleak, nihilistic, depressing, crazy, nightmarish movie that there's nothing quite like it. The soundtrack almost sounds like it's from an 8-bit video game, but just very depressing and weird and disgusting. A lot of people will say this is Taxi Driver meets Eraserhead, and in a way it does have elements of those movies, but it's its own beast too. And it's such one of these cruel movies where you learn a lot about the character, and he goes through everything. They absolutely take everything away from this guy. It shows the slums of the city so bad, so disgusting, where drug abuse is rampant, where poverty is at its peak, where he's just out there trying to make a living. His wife is pregnant. They have a mutated baby. His wife hates him. They don't get along, and he has combat shock or post-traumatic stress disorder, which is from war, and he has flashbacks, and he's just tortured, and he had a hard life with his father, and we have all these regrets in the movie. It's just not the feel-good movie of the year, but I've always loved the movie. It is gritty, and it's just raw, and it's in your face, and it's there, and it's a great performance by the lead. He's actually the director's brother. He also did the music in the movie, so we have so much going on here. For me, it's just one of these movies, and they play so brilliantly with the spoiled milk in this movie. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it, but the spoiled milk seals the deal. It really does in this one. There's not really any likable characters except maybe the lead. You do feel bad for his family in general, but it's just a cesspool of weirdness and depravity and horror. Real life horror at its finest, which is at its worst. And I've just the Vietnam flashbacks are pretty solid as well, and the reveal of who he is and the way he thinks and how he comes to terms with what he's gonna do in the movie. It's just a very memorable movie, and you guys will recognize alumni from Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. One of the demons in this movie is he's younger as one of the junkies, and that kind of blew my mind too that he was in this. But you know, it's almost too real for its own good. But Combat Shock, if you guys haven't seen this one, you gotta get it. It's just a crazy, crazy movie. It's top-notch stuff if you like the gritty New York or the gritty city movies or stuff like that, the sleaze, the filth, and also kind of vets gone crazy movies. I love all that kind of stuff. It feels very powerful. I love it. Always have.
I can't tell how long I've been here. Days or years. I mean, what happened? This isn't supposed to happen here.
There's no more food. He's hungry.
I waited 30 years to have it look the way it looks right now.
You would never dress like Frankie Dunlin. I would. Matter of fact, you were wearing my sneakers.
The stories came out of the newspaper.
What do you think this is, Vietnam? It's an unrelenting, it's an honest look at an immoral war.
It's like a very intense cinematic acid trip.
Nothing playful about this movie. Everything about Combat Shock was, this is how it is, and you are here for the ride.
He still has his finger on the pulse of what makes an underground cult film work.
Down and dirty.
The miserable and the horrible.
Of palpable horror. It's one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen.
Now, boys and girls, it's home viewer time. Mr. Robbie will read your letters and postcards and solve all your problems.
The images from his mind, so wild and chaotic.
I want to leave this world. Hard to tell who is well. I've got to leave this world.
You're not looking for a job, you're waiting for the world to end.
Hey, that should be any day now.
Okay, the next one I'm going to review is Old Man of the Rocks. I believe that's what it's called. If I mess that up, it'll be below. But this is a strange movie. This was sent to me by Eric Poe, I believe. And this is weird. I was watching this, and I was like, man, this feels really discombobulated. This feels like it's made by like 20 different people, 12 different people, directors. And it was. That's kind of unique in itself, that all these different people involved with the film would direct different parts of the movie, but it is all the same story arc. What we have here is this Black Widow killer, this woman she marries, and then she kills for the money. Her brother kind of is in on it as well. And that's the basics of the story. But she turned one of these people into a scarecrow, and there's this strange, weird thing going on here of, you know, kind of the supernatural element of the scarecrow coming back and worshiping this weird god bird woman, and the Black Widow woman is involved as well. What I liked about the movie is this. Most of the characters are adult. It's an adult horror movie. And you don't see that very often, where most of the characters are adults in the movie, and it follows the adults through there. Because, you know, they used to do it a lot more in the 70s, but nowadays it's kind of been a lost art. And I like it. And also, I like that they try to create a mythology with the Scarecrow and whatnot, and it has a kind of a rich history and past. Besides that, I didn't really care for anything else. There is one particularly good gore scene where a head is smashed, but there's a lot of CGI in here. I dislike the opening and the closing with the filmmakers actually going out and trying to debunk legends. I didn't care for that. The acting ranges, I don't want to go, but I don't want to point anybody out. Some of it's pretty rough, and it feels like it's a little bit like high school mentality acting, but not all of it's bad. It's just, you know, some of it ranges big time. Some of the line delivery is bad and awful, and I don't know if that's just the dialogue written or the different change of directors. I imagine it was a nightmare to have all these different people directing all these different segments. Like I said, I appreciate them doing that, and I also appreciate that they had these adult horror elements. And there's this weird kind of comedic thing at the end with everybody coming back as ghosts. I don't know what that's all about. It reminded me of the hospital at the end with the ghost, which I thought was pretty bad in the hospital. So I don't really care for that either. I did kind of like the character of the uncle, and I just kind of like, you know, kind of have a middle-aged kind of guy be kind of a heroic type in a movie. I dig that. I like that stuff. But besides that, I feel the movie kind of, it tries to go for a small town feel, and I appreciate that as well. But it doesn't have much atmosphere. There's a scene where the Scarecrow is walking down the street, and it just feels so plain. So it's not poorly lit. It's just no colors, no fog, nothing. I just can't see that. I just wish it had more atmosphere, and you know, that's just how I feel personally about it. I'm happy that they went out and made like an independent movie, and it's cool, and it feels like it's a big community kind of thing, and I can appreciate that. But the movie's not really particularly for me. I found a lot of shortcomings with it, and I like the idea of the Black Widow, killer too, like the woman and doing that kind of stuff in there. That's kind of a cool idea too. Like I said, it had some cool ideas, and its heart's in the right place, but for me, it's just not something I particularly liked, and I found that some of the stories and some of the line delivery was just a little too off for me. But, and also it's a little jarring, like I said, with it constantly feeling like it's changing direction and whatnot. But that's just my opinion. Check out the trailer. You might dig it.
Everything will be okay. We'll find out who murdered your uncle.
I already told you. You just don't understand. You think I'm crazy or trying to hide something.
Look, we're almost at the precinct. You can fill out your report. But as of right now, nothing you're saying is possible.
Look, watch out!
You okay? What the hell was that?
I told you. That was it. That was the Scarecrow. Come on, let's get out of here. Go!
Okay, guys, the next one is from Vinegar Syndrome. It is House of the Dead, a.k.a. Alien Zone. I've never seen this one. It's a horror anthology. It's from the late 70s, and that immediately piqued my interest. Originally titled Five Faces of Terror by the what the writer said. So, yeah, and Alien Zone. I get it, Twilight Zone style, but they were talking about this in the interviews. Alien Zone doesn't make any sense. I don't get the title. But what we have here is this guy. He's cheating on his wife, and he's going back to the hotel. He gets caught in a rainstorm. He gets left in this strange place. This weird man invites him in to get out of the rain because he can't find his hotel. And it's a morgue. And he starts showing him the bodies, and we see how these people died there. There's 4 stories, and including the wraparound, that makes 5. But the 4 stories are, one about a mean school teacher who is with a weird narration, and the payoff is decent, but That's all there is to it. Not horrible, not perfect, you know. And it kind of reminded me of the segment in Tales from Halloween with the trick-or-treaters. That's all I'm going to say. Very much like that, and I think maybe they took some inspiration from it. The next one involves this killer who likes to film everything. And the way this is shot, I think it's way ahead of its time. It's not a perfect short. It doesn't particularly work all that well, but it kind of plays some laughs here and there, how he's doing it and how he's focusing on the camera. But the way they did it, I felt was kind of unique, and I think probably ahead of its time. The next story, I can't think of the third story. That always happens with anthologies when I go to talk about them. Oh, the third story is probably the best of the one, too. The second best one, at least, maybe third. But it follows these two detectives, one from England, from the Scotland Yard, and one from America. They're supposed to be the best sleuths ever. And, of course, at first they meet and they're admiring each other. And the American detective gets this note that says, someone you know will die within 3 days. So the guy from Scotland Yard's like, can I tag along? And I want to kind of see how this is going. And of course, you kind of know where this is going, but they start getting on each other's nerves, and the twist is fun, and there's double, triple twist, that kind of stuff. This one's fun. This one's entertaining. I like the performances from the two leads. They do a good job. You could also tell this movie's fairly low budget because at one point you see the second short with the serial killer, and the first opening where the dead body is the same apartment. They redecorated it and changed it around. So yeah, the fourth story follows this guy who's kind of a jerk. He has no humanity. He has no sympathy for his fellow man. He has no humanity in him. This homeless man asks him for a drink, this drunk, and he says, get away from me, you bum, get a job. This guy's just despicable. He ends up getting trapped in this weird level that seems like somebody's kind of playing Saw games on him, and he becomes a drunk himself. That's the story. And some of these, you see all the dead bodies in the morgue and whatnot, and he's telling them these stories. You know where it's going. It's a setup just like Tales from the Hood. And again, Tales from the Hood probably took from this movie too. So there's so much stuff that this movie probably inspired, and I've never seen this one. I skipped. And maybe they didn't see it either, but it sure feels like they did, and a lot of people probably did. It's not a perfect movie. It's not amazingly well made. It is low budget, but they do have some decent ideas, and it plays out fairly decent as well. The wraparound's great. I like the twist in the wraparound. It has some nice lighting in the wraparound too. The performances are all solid. It's all fairly well made. There's no real complaints. It's just it's not really hard R or anything. It's probably on the PG level. It's decent. It feels kind of like an Amicus, but not quite as good as an Amicus. It's solid. It's cool. I enjoyed it. It's nice production values, and a lot of the stories are decent. There's at least 3 good stories and 2 decent ones in the movie. No real complaints here. I would say that one's fair, one's a little low, and 2 are good, and one's below. 2 are maybe not great, but 3 good ones, 2 okay ones. That's what I'd say. It's passable for sure and cool. And on the features on here, there's audio interviews with the director, which was nice. She talks about how she wasn't a horror director. She didn't really want to do this, but she did it last minute. And she did a pretty good job on it. She's worked in TV ever since. And one with a writer who talks about he wrote these, and they kind of just he was inspired by Twilight Zone, and they put them together, and it came out pretty well. Actually, the movie's decent. It looks damn good because it's Vinegar Syndrome. This is probably one of these movies that never, ever looked good, ever. So, yeah, I like the cover art. I like the movie. Fairly solid. I like the twist, even though you see him coming. It's one of these movies where you see the twist coming, but you don't care. You just have fun getting there, and you have fun seeing it. But that's House of the Dead from Vinegar Syndrome. They did another knock-up job on this one. Solid movie. Solid, really. Good release, solid movie.
At least I was thoughtful enough to change the inspector's bloody shirt. And I tried to keep the same expression on his face. A sort of clever little grin.
I suppose you're going to tell me the American detective Tolliver is in that coffin?
Heavens, no. They never found enough of poor Chief Detective Tolliver to bury. He seemed to go all to pieces over the incident. Come, let me show you this next one. Number 4, I call him. He's one of my newest acquisitions.
Acquisitions? There you go again, acting as if you pick and choose.
I'm sorry. I shall call them my customers if it will make you feel any better. Let's have a look. What do you say?
Okay, guys, the next one is the VHS Voyage. Let me know if you guys are liking these VHS Voyages. I've seen comments on there occasionally. People are like, iced, yeah. But I'm just curious, get some feedback on it. I don't have the real copy of this. It's a bootleg of Attack of the Beast Creatures from 1985. This is one of these movies that you see clips of, and it's just like, what is this? I decided to find out what it exactly was. It's about this group of people, about 9 people get stranded. This big cruise line sinks. You don't see it. You see it in the background. It looks like forced perspective, maybe like a painted picture in the back. I forget what they call that off the top of my head. But what happens is they get stranded on this weird island. A couple people are injured. You got the rich jerk, and you got a lot of character development, which is surprising in this movie. So they start to develop these characters. The acting's much better for the most part. There's some bad. The rich guy's a little bad, but for the most part, the acting's better than expected. And I liked all the characters. I didn't hate anyone, even the dickhead. I liked. So we have this. They're on the island. And they're hurt. They don't know what to do. They're in a lot of trouble. And right in the beginning of the movie, there's something that happens that blew my mind. I'm not going to spoil it. But one of the characters runs over and does something that when he sees something that they're looking for that anybody probably would have did. And what happens to him is crazy. And it's awesome. And it's not just, if you guys know anything about this movie, it's not just the beast creatures that you have to worry about on this island. There's all sorts of things. But the beast creatures on the island actually end up being these little kind of Zuni dolls, similar to the Trilogy of Terror. And they're carnivorous. And they start a carnivorous. Ugh, that word's a tongue twister for me right now. But they basically start attacking them any chance they get, taking little bites out of them. The music comes in. It's really weird. It happens all the time. And these poor people are stranded in this what seems to be a tropical island, even though it shouldn't be. And they're confused. And it's them fighting off these little creatures the whole movie and bonding together. And then they'll have a moment of, to talk to each other. And some more character development. Then somebody will get killed. Some more character development. And then the shit hits the fan at the very end. And you see what these things are doing, kind of, in a way. You don't understand why they're there. It's really weird. It's really crazy. I enjoyed myself the entire time. It is vast amounts of ridiculous fun. I love little creature movies. I love that they don't really explain what these things are, that they're not even organic material. They maybe would, but why are they alive? What's going on? I don't know. Nobody knows. But this island is evil, and there's all sorts of crazy crap happening on the island, and it's pretty gory. I mean, it's mostly just like blood slapped on people, but I like it. Attack of the Beast Creatures. You'll have a riot with it. I mean, it is fun, and it is, at times you think it's over, but then the creatures run back and start attacking some more, and the music kicks in. They're jumping from trees. It's fun. It's really, really goofy stuff, but I like this kind of stuff, man. I'd love to see this on Blu-ray. Where are the elements? Are there elements? Come on, Attack of the Beast Creatures. We deserve this. Okay, the pick a movie was by Buzzworthy, and he picked Madness of Many. This is an Unearthed Films release, and I had seen this. I had the old release, and I watched it. And I I remember being real lukewarm on it. This is a very strange movie. It has a commentary. Listen to the commentary. It helped me understand it a little bit more. This is definitely heavily inspired by, Fred Vogel movies, August Underground movies, and Lucifer Valentine. And the director says that, I'm very inspired by these guys. I'm not ripping them off. I'm inspired. And it's not exactly like that. This is a strange movie. It almost feels like he had a lot of weird, crazy, like torture stuff, fetish stuff, kind of gore stuff filmed. And then he kind of like narrated it and patched them all together to make this weird kind of nightmare movie is what I'd call it. But, I don't absolutely. This really isn't my thing. It is an extreme movie, and I know a lot of people will like this, but it's really kind of dark and depressing. It is a Danish film with a lot of Scandinavian actors from Sweden and Denmark, and so that's what we have here. And the director has them all speak English in there, and he speaks English, so everybody speaks English. And it has this narration about this girl who is basically telling everyone that throughout she's happy for all the pain and misery she's went through because that taught her how to be alive. And the director has this weird, look at life that he wanted to show the beauty and torture, and people are actually grateful for the horrible things they've been through because they won't know what the good things feel like. It's strange. It is very strange. And what happens is kind of these different women are a lot of puking up blood and being tortured and being mutilated and stuff like that, and crazy kind of weird looking shots and very bright skin and dark and contrasts and stuff like that all changed around in weird angles. There is a really iconic image or scene in this movie where one of the characters is crawling on their hands and knees and their eyes have been taken out, and there's these two people with chains on them, and that she's walking, and it's super strange and a weird symbolic thing where she eats her eyes on the plate and it takes it off and her eyes are there again. It's so weird to kind of free your... I don't know what they're going for exactly, but it's open to interpretation a little bit as well. You to see, you have to go through these horrible things, and you see different things when you go in the windows of soul. He's talking about this really weird movie. The commentary is really the only thing on the disc, and there's a bunch of trailers. It's just crazy. I liked it better this time, but I don't really like it. I know a lot of people like this kind of stuff. The special effects are really good. The gore effects are really, really top-notch, especially in some of the scenes here. It is an extreme movie. Like I said, I don't really like watching people throw up. And it's just not pleasant to watch, a lot of the misery in this stuff. And the director has a unique vision, and he has a unique outlook on life, and I don't think anyone else probably has that unique look or unique vision that he has. I haven't seen his other movies, but if you like this kind of stuff, if you're into Lucifer Valentine movies, I think you will enjoy this one. It's very weird and very different and very jarring. It is Madness of Many. Really, really strange stuff. Okay, guys, let's do the pick a movie drawing and see who wins. If anybody, James Grimmer won last time. He picked War Hunt with John Saxon and Robert Redford. If you ever want to be entered, send me a message on Facebook, leave a comment on Screaming Toilet, leave a comment on YouTube. You'll stay in the bag until you're drawn. So, and I added 6 new names to this hat, or this bag. So let's see who's going to get it. Who is it? It is James Murphy. I don't know originally what you asked for, but James Murphy. Let me know what you want me to watch, and your name goes out of the hat. If you want to be re-entered, let me know. Okay. First and foremost, somebody wanted me to show them my BCI set of classics. They had Cemetery of Terror and something else, so I'll be right back. Okay, Ben Miller asked me if I had seen any of these movies before. It was what were the two that he had, Grave Robbers and Cemetery of Terror, and I told him, yeah, I had actually watched one of them. I think it was Cemetery of Terror. And this is the set I had. He asked if I had in these. The Horror from the South of the Border. Yeah, these are out of print. I got it pretty cheap, but it has 6 films on there. I'm interested in checking these out. These are Mexican horror movies: Vacation of Terror 1 and 2, Hell's Trap, Don't Panic, Cemetery of Terror, and Grave Robbers. They're on 4 double-side disc, I believe. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I knew he wanted to see that, so I'd show it to him. Let's get into the Q&A. That was his question. That was by Ben Miller. Matt Brown, have you seen any other Russ Meyer movies? No, that is the only Russ Meyer movie I've seen that I did Beyond the Valley of the Dolls before. I have a bootleg of Faster Pussycat Kill on Blu-ray. I always forgot Roger Ebert wrote Beyond the Valley. What are your thoughts on him and his resentment towards the horror film community? You know, I'll say this about Roger Ebert. He does tend to... he had a bad experience with I Spit on Your Grave, and he let that experience let him dictate how he felt about the movie more than anything. It's probably not the best thing to do. But I will say that if Roger Ebert hates a horror movie and gives it a bad review, it won't stop me from seeing it. But if he likes it, that makes me want to see it more. And that's all I'll leave it, Roger Ebert. 80s film fan. What other Abel Ferrara movies would you recommend that I check out? He lists a bunch too. Like, he's seen King New York, Bad Lieutenant, Driller Killer, Miss 45, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, his Body Snatchers. So, yep, you said you ordered The Addiction. What I would recommend is China Girl, which I just talked about, and The Funeral. The Funeral is one of Abel Ferrara's most underrated movies. It hasn't had a Blu-ray stateside. There's a French release. It's pretty expensive, and the DVD releases here, I believe, are either out of print or really bad looking, from my understanding. But it's got Christopher Walken, Christopher Penn, a great performance by Christopher Penn. I believe Victor Argo has a small role in it. It's been a long time. Isabella Rossellini may be in it too. It's so long, and Vincent Gallo's in it too. It's a really good movie with a really, very memorable ending, The Funeral. Nick Mua, have you finished shooting The Batman? Yes, I have. If so, how was the shoot? Is this movie going to freak me out? The shoot was pretty rough, but hopefully it'll be rewarding. Is this movie going to freak me out? I like the people involved, though. Is this movie going to freak me out? I don't know. That's up to you. If you had to have a mascot during your weekly videos, what would it be? A ghoulie, for sure. What's the absolute minimum budget when making a short film? Time. How do you feel about a sequel ignoring all other sequels to a film, i.e. Halloween 2018? At that point, what are you going to do? How are you going to tie all those movies together? You kind of wrote yourself in a corner by like different studios taking it and not, we don't care, we just want a Halloween movie, we want the money, well, let's make another one. So like, yeah, I guess I don't really care as long as it's good. Alex Zeno, I'm very interested in Mrparka's economics. How much do you spend DVD/Blu-ray regularly? How much do you keep from selling? I don't send or rel. I don't know. If I see a deal that's too good to pass up, I'll take some from movies that I'm saving, and then just make up for it next week. So I do that sometimes. Some week I may spend $40. Some weeks I may spend $200. It really depends. So I try to save up when I can, and then spend when I don't. But yeah, so it all depends on the week. But I don't even want to think about how much I spend a year. Jeez. But thanks, guys, for watching. Let's hop into the update. Okay, guys, let's get in this update. Let's make it short and sweet. First up is Piranha 2, The Spawning, directed by James Cameron. They made sure they got that on the cover, Scream Factory. Yeah, we didn't think this was going to come for a while. There were some problems. Super glad it came out. I think Giannotti De Rossi did the special effects, if I'm not mistaken, or early role from Lance Hendrickson. I've only seen this once on DVD. I remember enjoying it. I'm looking forward to Flying Piranha again. We have the German import of Ghoulies 2, supposedly with the R-rated footage back inserted. I know that Scream Factory's release had it as an extra, but I love Ghoulies 2 enough to import a disc just to see that footage inserted. There is a Ghoulies 1 release, but I believe it is the PG-13 rated version as well. I don't think that Ghoulies 1, according to Extra the Mutilator, has ever been released past VHS in its rated R form. But love Ghoulies 2. It's one of my all-time favorites. If you've ever seen movies that I made myself, you can obviously tell I love the Ghoulies movies, at least 2 and 3. Then we have Anguish, which was an original Blue Underground DVD release. This is the Blu-ray. I've not had a chance to watch this. I believe Michael Lerner's in this. I believe it's a Spanish movie. It's supposed to be pretty good. I know that Shockwave's podcast loves it. I've had the old DVD for years, and I never got to watch it. Looks pretty cool. Those are both Region B. Then we have The Villainess. Was a good price on Best Buy. My other stuff from Best Buy didn't come, but this one did, The Villainous. Looks pretty cool. I guess it's like a revenge action style movie. I'm not 100% sure, but for $8.99 I took the chance. Then we have Heat. Great price on Heat. Classic movie. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and then tons of people in here. Jon Voight, Val Kilmer, tons of people. Dennis Haysbert, Tom Sizemore. Just a great cast. Michael Mann movie. Great action, great shootout. Tons of people in this one. Then we have this. This is out of print. I got it for, there is a German Blu-ray of Men of War. I love Men of War. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It also comes with a movie called Bravo 2-0 with Sean Bean. Not seen that, but Men of War. It's a great one with Dolph Lundgren, and it's got Kano in it, and I can't remember his name. Trevor Goddard. I think, what was his name? I think that was it. He died really young. But yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. It has Tom Lister in it. It's about Dolph Lundgren's hired to scare these people off this island so they can get something off it, but then he ends up deciding to help the people, and it's mercenaries versus mercenaries. A lot of fun. I bet the print looks like crap on here, but hey, it wasn't very expensive, and it's been out of print a long time. And the German import right now is very expensive. I haven't seen a single disc of it yet. It's like a deluxe edition. Now we have some DVDs. This is the one that was picked for my pick-a-movie. This is War Hunt with Robert Redford and John Saxton. So I'm kind of excited to check that out. Old MGM DVD. Not seen this movie, but that was the pick-a-movie, so I made sure I got it. And this was at Ollie's, really cheap. Descending Angel with George C. Scott. So why not? For $2, I'm going to check it out. George C. Scott, possibly a Nazi in it. Why not? But thank you for watching. Back to the video. Thank you guys for watching, as always, and you guys have a good one.